The dollar has lost 97% of its power. A lot of money printing's happened since then. Today, debt's almost 36 trillion. They can't afford anything. Why can't they? Because the dollar printing, they're messing with us. They're lying to us. Inflation today is 12%. So gold and silver has nothing to do with mankind's money.
So if you are older than me, chances are you already have your retirement plans locked in. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Maybe there's some things you want to add to your retirement plans. This is why in this video today, I sat down with a gold expert by the name of Paul Stone, CEO of Colonial Metals Group. Yes, they are a sponsor of this channel. However, I wanted to get his experience, his take, and his expertise about the pathway moving forward, because we know Trump was just elected. And we know the power of the dollar continues to decline. So we have to talk about gold, right? But yeah, why don't you tell the audience clearly like who you are, what you do, and why should they really care about hearing from you today?
Well, great question. Yeah. Pastor in my church that I went to for so long, he would speak and then he would interrupt himself and he'd say, "So what? So what? What's the point?" You know, as if we were saying that to him. And I'm nothing special other than I think I'm carrying a message, and it's important because when you look at retirement savings or anyone's savings, that's like stored financial energy. In a way, it's like financial, it's a resource that you've stored up, right? It happens to be in the dollar. And the message is the government, the way it's been solving problems, and we all know this, but I articulate it very well, that they print money to solve their problems. Mm-hmm. And they're actually creating problems by all their programs. And the money they print is creating a massive problem that eventually is lights out because it killed the resource that all of your savings was in. It kills the dollar. It's a math problem. And who I am is just someone who, like, you know, lots of folks, they want to be useful. They want to have a purpose. And having a purpose here is solving a massive problem for people that are interested in researching the truth behind it all. And then coming to the awareness that we have been in for a long time, many decades, a crisis that eventually has a drop dead date. When the dollar has a zero left resource value to give, when it's at zero, it's like if your journey was 300 miles and you have 250 miles worth of gas, you're going to be pushing. You're not going to make it. You're not going to make it to your destination. And there is really no destination for the economy. We just wanted America to be great for 1,000 years. And it's going to be great for about 250 some odd years. I really wouldn't say it's great now. It's all artificial from the money printing. So that message helps people, especially retirees, become aware that we're slowly being bled out, and really, really, really look at the dollar rather than money. Look at it as a resource. Doesn't it power our economy and the global economy at large?
Absolutely. And when you're saying to look at the dollar as a resource, obviously money is a tool. Are you referencing more or less where, like, how much it's valued today compared to where it'll be, like, 20 years from now? Is that where you're getting at? Right.
So there's two, in a way, there's a great question. We really care about the resource of the buying power of the dollar. Power. There's that word again, energy, power. So when it was originally issued, right, it was backed by gold for a long time. And so the paper wasn't money. It was just a better way to carry gold. Because if something you lose, gold could get dinged up, you got to remint it. Dollar gets torn up, dog-eared, whatever. You just take it to the bank and they give you a new 20, and they'll take that old one and burn it, and they'll just make new money, new paper version of money, right?
Right.
So the buying power, if you took $1 out of your hand and threw it on the floor, it would turn into 100 pennies long ago. Today, you would get 2.7 pennies. You'd get 3 pennies. 3. The dollar has lost 97% of its power. What do we use it for? Yes, we use it to buy things, like you said, do transactions. But what is the power within the dollar that's doing the transaction? So as the dollar has died, commodity prices go up. Eggs, coffee, wheat, sugar, gas, timber, lumber, everything, copper, right? So as the dollar plunges lower, commodity prices say, hey, I need more of those cheap dollars. I see what you're doing there, and I'm worth what I'm worth. I'm not worth your cheap dollar. I need 15 of those now. I need 20 of those now. I need 100 of those now. Eventually, the dollar's worth nothing. Printing money, the artificial creation of money, creates one hell of a bold-looking and broad economy. but it isn't real because it's supported by something artificial. It's like hooking a fish up to a garden hose.
Right.
It's not really a fish anymore. You're just keeping an organism alive. The minute the water quits pumping from the garden hose, it's dead.
Right.
And that's as literal as I could make it.
Yeah.
A dead economy.
Yeah. That kind of, Paul, that reminds me of the last 4 years, right? Where, they just kept on printing money, and handing it out like it was candy. And I always think back, if we knew like how much the cost of living was going to increase, would Americans have taken that stimulus check, or would they said, "No, I'm good"? Because
see, that's the rub, right?
Yeah.
Once for a while, the dollar has been disrespected. Mm-hmm. It ends up being wildly disrespected everywhere you look.
Right.
It's like, I don't know if this is a great reference, but it is kind of current and grotesque. If P. Diddy respected the sanctity of other people, then he wouldn't be ruining his career today. But he disrespected the essence of a relationship and went completely off the reservation for a long time. The government is literally the same thing. They are literally disrespecting Mother Nature's physics and relationship to reality by creating a virtual reality, saying we're all rich and doing great. Most of us aren't, but the ones that are, the ones that are doing well really struggle to touch space with the ones who are struggling. And easily 65, 70% of our country, as they said in the exit polls, are struggling mightily. What are they struggling from? They can't afford anything. Why can't they? Because the dollar printing causes inflation. Not the goofy, ridiculous 2% inflation you're hearing from the Federal Reserve. That's all hooey. That's some economic indicator that is not measuring accurately as it used to up until 1980. Reagan and his economists changed the recipe for counting inflation, and they did it again in 1997 when the baby boomers retired, and they did it again right before Biden the Fed had to start cranking rates December of 21 when they started to raise rates in 22. They're messing with us. They're lying to us. Real inflation today, counted the way it was counted for hundreds of years, where you and I care about how far my dollar goes at the cash register, inflation today is 12%. 12%.
Yeah.
And if anyone wants to call in and ask where I'm getting that information from, there's an old economist who has a website up that shows you the old ways of counting inflation and what those numbers would be. It is not 2 or 3%. That's hooey.
Yeah.
That's hooey. And it causes confusion in our minds because the suits from the podium say inflation is almost dead. We've almost beaten it. But a green pepper costs $6.
Right.
So it's not beat. They're lying to us.
Yep.
And our dollar continues to die and more people continue to struggle. And eventually it's lights out. And all everyone was doing, even Trump coming in talking about Doge and cutting costs, is still just rearranging furniture on the Titanic.
Right. It's so interesting. I want to really get to, obviously, like the outlook over the next 20 years, especially for people who are thinking about their own savings and whatever their retirement plans might be. But, it's just interesting. What's on paper on black and white, right? If you use the analogy of like sports, right? Or a fighter, right? In boxing. Yeah, on paper, boxer A should be able to beat boxer B, but then reality sets in, right? And it's as if the government is operating in this alternate reality that isn't on the same page of everyday working Americans who have been saving every single dollar, but they're not seeing it go a very long way now, of course.
Right.
And it calls into question, what should be a good idea for them and their retirement? Like, what are some options out there for them, given what's happened, especially over the past 4 years? So that's.
And here's how I sum that up. And I'm blessed to have been doing this for a long time, trying to explain and take complicated things that seem complicated. We're all smart people. All of us, we're all smart people. We're in America. There's no dummies here.
Right.
People could say that silly stuff from the podium or in front of a camera when they're politically motivated, but we're not. We're not. Because what we've had to overcome in this country? We've had to overcome so much, especially our retirees, our 60, 70, 80-year-olds. They built the damn place. Mm-hmm. They built the place. Imagine the sacrifices they've had to make. And doing it while they're watching people become extraordinarily wealthy and successful because they created a software program. Like, to them, that just doesn't make any sense. When they've had to struggle working on an assembly line or plowing a field or paving streets their whole life. I'm not saying everyone's had a hard job or a hard life, but it's been difficult. And so what I am blessed, I think, and how I'm useful to others is I could take these seemingly complicated things and squash them down on the dining room table and make them simple. So there's 4 places for your money. This resonates with folks. It might sound silly, but that's what's going to be useful, is a different perspective, a different way to understand the situation. 4 places for my money, because most people just think of money being invested. Okay, well, where is it? That's 1 place for your money. It can be invested. So your money's in the financial world. But it could be in form of cash in a safe at home. I know we don't want that, but I'm just listing what your choices are, as if you were reading it off the back of a cereal box in the morning. Cash in a safe at home, in the financial world, in the real estate world, where you might own a key to a door or a bunch of doors, or in the vault. It's cash, physical cash, real estate, financial world, or the vault. Those are your 4 locations for money. When you think, if I took us all back in a time machine 150 years, where's our money? It's buried under the floorboards. It's under the manure bin. It's under the 40th link of fence from the northeast corner. Some of it's in our pocket. And then someone invented a bank. Right. Which was an ultra secure place in the middle of town, kind of equidistant from all of us ranchers, where we could ride our horses to and put money in a drawer, guys with guns and, security measures, thick walls, accountants. And they would keep note of what we took out and what we put in. Or money always has to be somewhere. It isn't in my iPhone, right? It's not in my iPhone. It's in a database if I'm getting to it from my iPhone. If it's in physical gold and silver, which is how you get into the vault, well, then I've left all that man-made financial hooey behind. And I'm in an asset that rises in value as the government prints. Obviously, gold was $300 an ounce in the year 2000. Debt was $4 trillion. A lot of money printings happened since then. Today, debt's almost $36 trillion, and gold is, call it 2,500. So as they push down on reality and kill it and kill the value of the dollar, gold and silver rises like almost all commodities have. But being financial, it has a unique relationship, an offset to the lying that's going on inside the dollar. The murder that's happening to our currency. Again, if something lost 97% of its value, what is that? That's something that can't stand up on its own. It's in a wheelchair. It's on life support. It isn't golfing. It isn't playing with the grandkids. It isn't reading a story. It's not knitting a sweater. It's not fishing. It's fake. You're watching your economy living on a screen. It's not real behind the scenes, but Mother Nature sees what's going on. And eventually you bump up against one of her hard stops and it's game over. And everything supported by the dollar that was disrespected all these decades perishes along with it. Those values reset back to a realistic level, like $1 million home priced in $1 worth 3 cents is a $30,000 house priced in $1 worth 100 cents. Now do you understand the inflation game? Yeah. So relocating your inflated savings to gold and silver is the historic, humanity proven through all the thousands of years it's been counted on to be money, way to insulate yourself from when this happens. And if you think Trump carries a magic wand that math listens to, God bless you. But no man does, no woman does. The only thing that changes bad math is good math, and there's no place the good math can come from. There just isn't. The bills keep increasing. If your bills was $1 trillion 10 years ago and it's $7 trillion today, what happens if you only print $6 trillion? You go bust.
Right.
So the economy is demanding. You said they're handing out money like candy, and they are, because they don't understand what they're doing. And this is where I clarify things for people when they're like, well, how could they be so different than us? Like, they can't drive on the left side of the road.
Right.
Right? You have to drive on the right side of the road. How can they be driving on the left or the right side of the road and not get in an accident?
Yeah. You saying all that really reminds me of the story of Russia refusing to use the dollar and switching over to yen. I think that was last year, if I'm not mistaken, of the timeline. And secondly, you wouldn't hear someone doing that with gold and silver, right? So the dollar continues to be exposed. Our government continues to print it in a very destructive manner, might be the best word, maybe. And what I hear and see about gold and silver so far in my youth, right? Because I'm a young kid.
You are a young man.
Is that it's definitely much more safe and not as exposed, in other classes that you could invest in, of course, other asset classes. And when I was looking up the research on comparing the different asset classes, I found gold to be in the top of the most consistent, growth over time. And when I say over time, I'm not talking 10 years. We're talking, 30, 40, 50 years of actual growth that has been steady. So when you're talking about people thinking about gold and silver, putting their money in the vault, could you just, and even for my own education too, do you mind sharing a couple more reasons why it's such a safe and smart choice?
Again, yeah, out of those options, cash in a safe at home, real estate, financial world, those three all mostly require some kind of party to get involved with you to make sure the system keeps working. Banks make loans for real estate transactions. If they didn't, there'd be no money chasing real estate. You could consider it not going higher or go lower if that demand was cut off, right? The facilitation of the loan creates the demand, the money that chases after limited real estate. Same with the financial world. Cash in a safe at home, I mean, they're killing the dollar from Washington. And when we say print money, they're not printing hundreds and 20s and 50s anymore. They're just issuing money onto an Excel spreadsheet and out into the system it goes.
Yeah.
So gold and silver has nothing to do with mankind's money. You have left. It's like if the meteor is going to hit on the left side of the street, and I moved my money to the right side of the street, then I don't take the hit. And then part two to that is, gold and silver goes up when they're printing the dollar. Again, it was 300 in the year 2000, $300 an ounce. Today, call it 2,500. That's a pretty good. I mean, we're not looking at it to make money. We're saying, look how it reacts to what they do to money, what they call money today, the printed dollar, the dollar paper, right? So as they kill it and the dollar goes down in buying power, gold goes up in buying power. If I took you back in that time machine, and gold was $20 an ounce long ago, what would $20 get you today at the grocery store? A sandwich and a drink and chips.
Yeah, not much.
What would an ounce of gold get you at the grocery store? You'd feed your family and four others for a week off 1 ounce of gold. So the gold didn't change, the dollar did. And so now I'm in a physical element outside of the man-made financial world. And part three, it's as liquid as a phone call, the same phone call that you'll have with us to start moving savings into gold and silver. You make that same call down the road where you're wanting to come out of it, and out of gold and silver you come. It's your property, part four. You literally own it. You are no longer renting space in some financial world that's propped up by printed money. You are outside of that, and your gold and silver is in a safe at home or in a depository. Those are insured by Lloyd's of London. You can visit your gold and silver. If you all got super bad, that's not the greatest economic description of what I mean. If things ended, you would ride a horse to your gold and silver depository and ride off with it. But everywhere else your money might be, it's gone. So it exists, just like chicken dinner. That existed. I ate it, right? So it was real. It's physical. I consumed it. Gold and silver is real because it actually exists.
Yeah, it's so interesting. The more they manufacture money, the more gold becomes valuable.
Yes, that's the whole point. So then you say, well, will we reach a point where they don't have to manufacture any more money? No, because then we look at systems that came and went before us. The Romans invented it, right? Then it was the Portuguese, a tiny little Rhode Island-sized country, ran the world financially for like 400 years. Then it was Spain. Then it was the Dutch, or Netherlands. Then it was the French. Then it was the British. Now it's the Americans. Next up, I think the world fractures into 3 different currencies. It doesn't matter what someone's policy is going to be. If Trump throws these Trump tariffs up against BRICS, they'll just backdoor stuff. It's like, when you tell your kids, you can't go out tonight. Around 11 o'clock, the window opens, out the window they go, and they meet their buddies down at the corner and they're out.
Right.
We can't hold a gun to people's heads. That doesn't work financially. And you could, but they're still going to print and they're still going to kill the dollar. And we're causing inflation around the whole world by printing our money. That's why they're moving against us. So when I think to what relationships will probably be created financially around the globe, it's anyone who wants to deal with BRICS. And my God, they have power, right? You have Saudi and Russia. Those are the 2 of the 3 largest energy producers in the world. And you have the population of India and China. That's a massive piece of population on our planet. right? But so be anyone who wants to deal with BRICS, anyone who wants to deal with Europe, they're kind of caught in the middle, and anyone who wants to deal with America
Right.
as we perish financially. Again, $1 million home today is really just a $30,000 house if you're pricing that house in a dollar that hasn't been gutted, a 100 penny dollar. Think of that.
Wow.
That is the inflation game. That's what I mean by artificial. What you're counting on actually is if you passed away this morning, you passed away with your wealth intact. But eventually the music does stop. There's the needle is scratching at the end of the album, and everyone's looking for a seat. And the only thing that actually provides that to you is precious metals. And my only usefulness to anyone is to help them see this and make the move before the music quits.
Yeah. So what's your parting message to the audience?
We're just here to help, and you're what made America great in the first place. Now, in my latest little Substack, I have a new one coming out, but it says, how can you make the dollar great again? Again, the dollar is the energy that makes our finances happen. Without that resource, your finances don't happen. Again, I'm just giving vocalization to the math problem. This isn't my crystal ball. I don't have an IQ of 240. So my parting message is, you can do this. This is just what's up next. So as you're retired or as you have a good income now and you're socking money away, we're not suggesting you cancel out everything you're used to, but you make room for this piece. If you can start increasing your comfort level with something new, you could eventually marry it. You could eventually be happy that it's in your life, right? And so when you look at the location of your money, gold and silver is the only option that isn't man-made. It can't be made in a lab.
Okay, so if you made it to this point in this video, I want to say thank you so much. Now, if you want to hear more and learn more from Paul Stone, all you have to do is go to the link in the description below to access his Substack. It's a newsletter you can subscribe to where he dives even deeper on gold and silver. And so one of the things I've learned so far in my youth when it comes to investing is being very diverse in your portfolio. This is why I believe in having a substantial percentage of my financial futures secured with gold and silver. This is why I interviewed Colonial Metals Groups today, so we could see exactly why that is so important to do. Now, they've helped me set up a safe and secure self-directed IRA, and I have access to my assets no matter what the stock market is doing, no matter who the president is, or what the government decides to do. So go to freegoldguide.com/Devori to access your Colonial Metals Group's retirement protection kit. This is designed specifically for people like you. That is freegoldguide.com/Devori, or you can simply give them a call so they can answer your questions at 1-800-757-5158. That is 1-800-757-5158. And qualified applicants can receive up to $10,000 in additional silver to their account today.